Ladies and gentlemen, K Kim here. Welcome to the daily update. Hope you guys had a good day trading today. Market is down about 1% there, as you can see on the S&P 500. I think Nasdaq a little less, some of the other indices a little more. It's a down day nonetheless. Let's try to figure out what we can expect going into tomorrow. Tomorrow will be the last day of trading for this week. And so it will be interesting to see how the market is going to behave for this week. We had a strong week last week. Pretty much we're still holding those gains from last week. Basically, what we're doing this week, what we did this week was we saw a big gap up on Monday, and then we pulled back, and then we made a move, and then we just kind of came back to it. So pretty much a pause week this week. So this is last couple days, several days, 3 days of trading, right? This was the Tuesday price action. This is Wednesday, and this is today. So it looks like we, let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So it looks like we gapped down initially because that's where it closed yesterday. So we gapped down, we got up and filled that gap pretty much. Some fluctuations there on the first hour. You can see my squiggly moving average. That's a short-term moving average there. So that moving average has been kind of dictating where the market is going in the short term. So you can see when that moving average was acting as a resistance here for 4 hours or so on Tuesday. And then when we gapped up, we stayed above it for the entire Wednesday, right? This was where we found support on Wednesday. Thursday, which is today, we gapped below my short-term moving average, as you can see here, and we were never able to close above my short-term moving average pretty much the entire day today. There was an attempt that was made. You can see that long Arpo wick there. So buyers did try to push back above my short-term moving average. Not successful. We closed the second hour below my short-term moving average, and ever since then, the battle was already finished here in the first 2 hours, and ever since then, third hour just lost it. Right, that was that kind of a micro-term pivot there. We lost that, and then we saw decline, and then we continued on the fourth hour. Continued on the fifth hour, some fluctuation, another attempt from the buyers to push it up, not able to do that on the fifth hour. It looks like on the sixth hour, bears trying to push it even further to the downside, because you can see that's that support in the short to micro term there. That's where we found support on Tuesday, and that's what we saw that up move. Tuesday and Wednesday, we came back down to that today, Thursday. We undercut it. This kind of stuff happens all the time. And then buyers brought it up. So we do have what it looks like potentially some sort of bullish engulfing / tweezer bottom type of candlesticks here, similar to maybe here. But again, that needs to be confirmed, probably at least getting above my short-term moving average there. So my short-term moving average is actually declining at this point. So like in the micro to short term, I have to say, benefit of the doubt is probably going to the bear sellers, just because we are below my short-term moving average. Not only that, I think in the short to micro term, we do have that cultivation of a lower high, first of all. So that gives that little bit more weight to the bears in the short term to micro term. Keep in mind, though, we don't have a lower low yet, right? We have what I call equal highs. So that's that horizontal pivot, right? And so we have a lower high. If bears want to do some more damage on this, they really need to cultivate that lower low. But problem is, when we go back down to 349, that's another support there. There's a gap area there. So let's actually zoom out a little more, see what we're looking at, what we're dealing with in the more of a midterm sense, right? So let's do this. Let's look at this as a midterm. Let's analyze this here. So we'll look at this as a midterm. So right now, if you look at a kind of a little bit bigger picture in the midterm sense, we do have that higher high cultivation. Higher high cultivation is always a good thing. Especially, we did that in the midterm, right? Because this high, that swing high was back in October 12th, and that higher high cultivation occurred about a month later. So definitely a midterm sentiment is bullish. And right now we're dealing with this rising pivot. I tweeted this out earlier today on my 2K came Twitter and StockTwits feed. That's kind of the where, you know, I thought that we might find, you know, support, at least kind of slow down in that vicinity. It looks like that's where we found some support, and we slowed down at least a selling, because we did see 3 hours of selling in the last, you can see 3rd hour, 4th hour, 5th hour, and the last hour we did find support. But again, this is a support coinciding with the rising pivot and horizontal pivot also, right? So, and again, the gap that was open here, that was entirely filled on Tuesday, and that's been kind of acting as support. So currently, you know, we are dealing with the 350 to 349 support area. My midterm moving average is still rising, right? So we want to continue to give benefit of doubt to the buyers in the midterm. My short-term moving average is kind of pulling back. We got a little bit of lower high here. So I still want to give it, I mean, when you look at like more of a bigger term, short term, like, you know, I'll look at this as a short term here. I'll look at this as a kind of a micro term, just because the way I look at things, I look at things much more long term. So this is kind of how I look at it as micro term. This is how I kind of look at it as short term. This entire thing, I'll look at it as a midterm, if that makes sense. So, you know, micro term, we do have some bearish sentiment. In the short term, I still want to give a benefit of the doubt to the buyers in the short term and midterm. Maybe I'll say 2/3 bullish and 1/3 bearish in the short term. Micro term, we're bearish, right? Micro term, we do have the resistance and lower highs, right? So, and obviously long term, we're bullish, right? We've been cultivating new all-time highs here, at least, you know, on a intraday print basis. So let's check out that oscillator here real quick. But I think what the buyers want to do though, because, you know, we see that little bit of momentum here. I think the best case scenario is kind of at least seeing first 2 hours of bullish pressure tomorrow morning, or gap it up, hold above it. You see my short-term moving average here, which is residing at this point 354.27. So we want to at least kind of get above it and clear above it and hold above it. First 2 hours, I think if we can do that tomorrow morning, there's a good chance that you know, buyers want to maybe bring it back up to this neckline, right? Potentially a little double bottom there, and that's the resistance there. And so that's kind of going to be, and I'll tweet things out tomorrow. If we do see a rally tomorrow, if we do see a push from the buyers to retest that level, and we have to re-examine the situation at that time. And that would be the best case scenario for the buyers, maybe gapping up above 354.30, above that short-term move. And that's not a huge gap up, right? That's not a huge gap. So it's very much doable. Bears, best case scenario is probably gapping it down just like they did here this morning. Just basically nullifying this little bullish momentum that we saw last hour of yesterday. And we see a little bit of bullish momentum we saw last hour of today. So just gapping it down will pretty much neutralize it. And then bears can probably keep pushing it down to about 349. And then I would say I'll put this one here too. I'll put it like somewhere here, 346 or so. That's that pivot, coinciding with what my midterm moving average. My midterm moving average does have a little bit of a resume here, because you can see once we saw price clear above my midterm moving average, we threw a little bit of that bull flag right on that midterm moving average, and that was 334. It went all the way to 365. So we do have some weight on that midterm moving average coinciding with that gap area. So pretty much this entire vicinity is going to act as pretty strong support in my opinion. So let's check out that oscillator and maybe try to get a better sense of this market. So we did have that bullish divergence here, which we talked about. That made the move go all the way from 320s to 360, near 360. We talked about that bearish divergence here. So we did see that bearish divergence, and we did see initial move to the downside, but we're not seeing a whole lot of down move. Bears kind of letting buyers hang around a little bit. So this is kind of a juncture where either bulls can bring it up or bears can actually have putting it down, because bears actually still have energy left. They're not at that oversold level. So we have this support area right here and here. We just retesting that area. So I think it'll be important to see how the market is going to behave in the first 2 hours. If we do see a move to the upside, buyers want to bring this oscillator back up to the upside like this. Buyers need to push right away. We start fizzling, not doing anything for a couple hours, even moving sideways, this might come right back down, and that's going to make bears to kind of take advantage of it, maybe hit that short-term moving average and bring it right back down to 349, 347-ish area. So in the short to micro term, we're kind of in that make or break level. We got that rising pivot. We got some of these support levels. We got the rising midterm moving average, oscillator support here. We got that lower high on the oscillator and also on the price here. So either both can bring it up, turn this into an oscillator support and the rising pivot, or bears need to break below it. So we're right on that juncture, right? And we'll find out more tomorrow. But again, that's what I'm saying, the short to midterm, in the short to micro term, I mean, but in the more of a bigger picture, in the midterm sense, our posture should be still very much bullish at this point. I'll come back for you guys tomorrow night and we'll re-examine the situation. Tomorrow's Friday, so I'll do my market update video, which is the weekend analysis, a little bit more extensive. We'll look at some other indices, we'll look at Bitcoin and gold, and kind of do a little longer term picture total recap, which we do every weekend. I'll come back for you tomorrow. Enjoy your evening and good luck trading tomorrow.